All right, everyone, let's dive in. Today we're tackling operative dentistry.
But we're going deeper than just drill and fill this time.
Right. Cavity preparation, it's the foundation, really, of any restoration.
It is, yeah. It's like you wouldn't build a skyscraper on a shaky base, right?
Exactly. Teeth, they're no different. A poorly prepped cavity, you're asking for trouble down the line.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A filling that doesn't fit right.
Or even a tooth that, well, fractures under stress.
Absolutely.
Now, the source material, it mentions G.V. Black's classification of cavities.
Yeah.
It seems like, well, every dentist learns this system. But honestly, why is it still so important? I mean, it's been around forever.
It has, yeah. But Black's system, even though, gosh, it's over a century old,
Right.
it's still relevant, I think, because it gives us like a common language to describe where a cavity is.
Okay.
It's like a roadmap, guides our treatment plan, helps us understand the challenges that come with that specific location, and predict how the restoration needs to be designed to last.
So it's all about location, location, location.
Very much.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So can we break it down a bit? What are the key things to remember about each class?
Absolutely. So class on, those are the ones, hiding in pits and fissures.
Okay.
Mainly on the chewing surfaces, back teeth.
Got it.
Think of like those grooves where food can get trapped.
Even with good brushing?
Even with good brushing, yeah.
Wow.
And then you have class 2. That's where things get a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Class 2s, those involve the surfaces between back teeth where flossing is super important. Now, preparing these cavities for a restoration, like an amalgam filling, for instance,
Right.
it's tricky. It's a balance between like preserving the tooth structure while creating a shape that can withstand all that biting force.
Okay, I'm seeing where this is going. So the source material, it really dives into the specifics of a class 2 amalgam prep.
Yeah.
And it mentions creating an occlusal step and a proximal box. Can you walk us through like why those steps are so critical?
You got it. The occlusal step, that's our starting point.
Okay.
It's essentially a flat surface that we create on the chewing surface of the tooth, which gives us a clear path to access the decay between the teeth.
Got it.
And here's the thing, the angle of that step is super important.
Really?
It needs to be perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth. Imagine a line running down the center of the tooth, top to bottom.
Okay, yeah, I can picture that.
This helps distribute the force evenly when you bite down, which prevents the tooth from cracking.
So it's not just about getting rid of the decay.
Right.
It's about like reshaping the tooth to handle stress.
That's exactly it, yeah. Now, that proximal box you mentioned,
Right.
that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
We need to create a space between the teeth, right, that can hold the filling material, but without weakening the tooth too much.
Yeah, that sounds like a challenge.
It is. It really is. This is where, the art and science of dentistry come together.
I bet. From what I'm seeing in the source material, it seems like the shape of that proximal box is super important, especially for amalgam fillings.
It is. We're aiming for what we call retention form.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're creating a shape that locks the amalgam in place, like a puzzle piece almost. We want those walls to converge slightly towards the chewing surface, giving the filling that wedge-like effect.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that make the tooth weaker? You're removing more tooth structure where those walls converge, right?
That's a great question, and that's where resistance form comes in. We need to balance retention with the tooth's ability to withstand biting forces.
Yeah.
So we make sure the floor of the box is flat, perpendicular to the long axis of the tooth, and we carefully round off any sharp internal angles. This prevents stress concentration.
Oh, okay, so it's like a balancing act.
It is.
Between like holding the filling securely and preserving the tooth's structural integrity.
Exactly. Every cut we make, every angle we shape has to consider both retention and resistance. And that's just the beginning. We haven't even touched on retention locks.
Right.
Or dealing with remaining decay.
This is fascinating stuff. But before we get too deep into those details, let's take a step back and contrast this amalgam prep with what we need to do for gold restorations. The source material highlights some key differences. Why don't we unpack those next?
It's like the properties of the material itself, it dictates so much of our approach. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation at all.
Okay, that's a perfect segue to talk about gold. I remember from dental school, prepping for a gold inlay, it was a whole different ball game.
Mm.
compared to amalgam.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Why is that?
Well, think about it. Gold, I mean, it's incredibly strong, durable,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't bond to tooth structure the way some of those modern materials do.
Right.
So we have to rely on mechanical retention,
Yeah.
basically creating a shape the gold inlay can lock into.
The source material, it mentioned something about diverging walls for gold.
Yeah.
And that seems kind of counterintuitive.
It does a little bit.
Didn't we just talk about how converging walls were key for amalgam retention?
You're absolutely right. It is different. With gold inlays, we actually want those walls to slightly diverge as they move towards the chewing surface.
Okay.
This is because the inlay is fabricated outside the mouth and then cemented into place. Those diverging walls create a slight draw, which allows the inlay to seat perfectly without, getting stuck or putting pressure on the tooth.
So it's like a custom fit puzzle piece, but with a little extra space for a smooth fit?
Precisely. And this brings us to another key difference: bevels.
Okay, bevels.
Bevels are those subtle sloping edges that we create at the margins of the preparation, particularly for gold restorations. They serve like a bunch of important purposes.
Okay, bevels. I vaguely remember those from dental school, but refresh my memory. Why are they so important for gold?
Well, first, they provide a smoother transition between the gold inlay and the tooth structure. Both visually and functionally, this helps prevent plaque accumulation and improves the aesthetics of the restoration.
So it's about like blending the gold seamlessly with the tooth.
Exactly. Second, bevels help enhance the marginal integrity of the restoration.
Okay.
They expose a greater surface area of enamel rods, which is crucial for the cement to bond effectively.
That makes sense. Stronger bond, longer lasting restoration.
Exactly. And finally, bevels can actually improve the retention and resistance form of the preparation,
Really?
especially for gold inlays. By creating a slight undercut, we enhance the mechanical grip of the inlay.
Wow. It's amazing